Hello, and welcome to the second episode of Nerd Hole.
Welcome to Nerd Hole, where you can fall in and you don't have to cut off your own arm to get out. Was that was a nerdy reference to 127 hours, because that is directed by Danny Boyle, and I am going to talk about 28 Days Later by Danny Boyle. And when I said in the video about Antichrist that that was the worst thing I've ever seen, I had totally forgotten 127 hours about Aaron Ralston, hiker who falls into a canyon, boulder on his arm. He has to cut off his arm. True story to get out. It's James Franco with a digital camera in a fake cave that they made. The practical effects for the arm, they put a lot of work into it, and it's disgusting. Have you seen it?
Mhm.
Do you remember that scene?
Oh, yeah. It was the scene when it came out. That's all people would talk about.
The scene. And can I tell you the secret to that scene? Because
Yes.
like everything that disgusts me, like the bear in Annihilation, I had to watch it over and over, frame by frame. Why is this so gross? There's a sound effect when he hits the nerve.
Mhm.
It's the sound effect from the game Operation, I swear to you. It's a it's a buzzing sound. It's a nerve
So you
sound.
feel it.
It's electrical. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the sound of electricity.
Oh, no. So
No.
yeah, unlike
Okay.
127 hours,
Yes.
you won't have to cut your own arm off to get out of here. You can
You
just
just yeah.
you can just leave. It's cool. We won't judge you.
We might be here for 127 hours
We
though,
might.
recording, because
Yes,
we might be here 28 days later.
we
We might
probably
be
will.
making this video 28 years later.
Yes. So here's what we're gonna do. We've decided we're gonna pick a theme, and each of us picks a movie within that theme, and then we take turns in leading discussions through those films and talking about them together. The theme for this week, what's the theme for this week? Because you came up with it.
No, I did. You told me
Mhm.
to watch Pontypool because I'd never seen it. And
No, that's not what happened.
no, and then, well,
No.
that is what happened. I wanted to talk about 28 Days Later, and I realized as I was watching Pontypool, oh, can I spoil everything?
Yeah.
Blood puking zombies. There's the common theme. However, there are more common themes between these films, like peak millennial horror, perhaps. Both of them say something about that. I think Pontypool is. Correct me, you're going to talk about it, so, but it's somehow about memes. A little bit.
Yeah. And
Like,
about going viral.
uh, viruses. Oh, the viruses. That's what it was. It wasn't the blood puke. It was.
Yes. See? Okay, because you're
Okay.
rewriting history.
It was the rage.
Words
You're
because
history.
wait. History is mystery. Okay. All right. So, this is what actually happened. You were like, what about a virus theme? Because COVID has, completely changed our world. What if we do virus movies? And then you were going to pick a virus movie, and I was going to pick a virus movie. You picked 28 Days Later. I picked Pontypool. And then when you went and watched Pontypool, you realized that there was the correlation blood, puke, and zombies. That's
Yes,
how it happened. That's how it came together.
that is not how. I apologize.
Words make our reality,
I
people.
know that, but see I blame my memory issues on watching Pontypool, actually. Okay?
It will drive you insane.
Yes,
So,
it did.
yes.
So things that are foundational to human experience, rage and language, becoming viral vectors. Yes.
Yes.
First, I am dressed for this, but then to prevent viral infection, but then I realized that in 28 Days Later, the rules are kind of, So actually, it's more like that, because Frank and the bird. But
Yes.
kidding aside, 28 Days Later is not a horror movie to me, it's a Christmas movie. Um, it is. Um, so there are two movies that make me cry every time I see them. One is this very sweet movie called In America by Jim Sheridan, which is just beautiful and tender, and it's shot in a similar way, and I'll talk about that. And it's personal, and the other is 28 Days Later. And so people think I'm joking because they think of 28 Days Later as a zombie movie that gave birth to the whole running zombies genre that I I don't know when the Walking Dead comics came out, but uh waking up in the hospital was that just seems like a direct
Yes.
yes.
Let's talk about that. Hold on. I just looked it up. Walking Dead debuted in 2003.
Okay, so 1 year after. 28 Days Later was released in the UK November 1st, 2002, and then June 27th, 2003 in the US. So for the UK, it was a Christmas movie, basically. And for us, it was a summer horror movie.
And I did not think about the comic book. You're so 100% right. Because one of the first things I saw is that opening of waking up in the hospital and the world has ended while you were in a coma or out. Um, is such a brilliant trope, I guess, now, thanks to Walking Dead making it a trope, but such a brilliant idea because now you've got the main character who is on the same level of understanding about what's going on in this apocalypse as the viewer. So
Yeah,
we get to walk through it together. And so I guess that's how they
which is,
decided to steal it with Rick Grimes waking up in the hospital in Atlanta.
you remember the first time you saw 28 Days Later, probably not as vividly as me because I saw it in the theater. And the entire theater, the car alarm jump scare got everybody. But unlike Pontypool, we see what's going on right at the beginning. There's that prologue where the animal rights activists in the world accidentally, I guess. As you said, the news footage that they're showing to the chimpanzee in the beginning is like, that looks contemporary.
Yeah, why are you showing those poor monkeys the news from 2025? Stop
Exactly.
that. That's gonna make a monkey mean.
I was not on board with what American audiences took from that, what um, the film industry took from that, which was, oh, Americans want more zombies and they want fast zombies. And there were a bunch of things that I think there was a remake of a Romero movie that came out like right after. And then, of course, The Walking Dead and all of that. 28 Days Later had nothing to do with zombies to me. It wasn't a zombie movie. Zombies are slow and they're the undead. And no, they're not even zombies, but they're infected. Or they're just us. As Danny Boyle said, imagine your worst day of road rage times a million. That's all it is. It's just a shocking level of unrelenting aggression, which all humans are capable of.
Yeah.
I watched the behind the scenes today too, and it was all about viruses. It was really prophetic and creepy actually. On
Yeah,
the DVD, you remember DVDs?
I
Um,
do. I think we need to go back to DVDs because I'm tired of having to pay for 20 different streaming services so I can watch what I want to watch.
yeah, exactly. I don't do that. I have movies I love, I buy on DVD. The end. And sometimes they skip. As a capturing the millennial experience, there are so many moments. Jim with his orange juice memory, and his parents are gone, and so many of us come from broken homes, where things, the good life, just stability just fell apart. So there's something, I don't know, people talk about how millennials are so nostalgic. We're obsessed with our childhoods, but there is a reason for that. We have a sense of something we've lost. The feeling that things were going to be there and be okay, that there was solid ground under our feet. Well, first, when Jim realizes that he's all alone, he goes to the church looking for Father, right? looking for community, looking for family, and of course the priest comes out and chases him down. And the priest, by the way, I think I read somewhere, was the motion coordinator for all of the zombies. He was like the zombie dance instructor
Oh,
because
wow.
his physicality is amazing. Um, but and then he finds Frank and Hannah, again, family. And then when he ends up with the military, it's like we were the first, we knew kids in high school who went and joined the military
Yeah.
post 9/11. So looking for a sense of family. So it's all connected. But the grocery store scene, millennials, walking into a grocery store now, that scene is like this fantastical dream, as it is in the film, of just abundance in the midst of devastation and chaos. The apples, they're irradiated. The
Yeah.
raisins, they're still moist.
They're still moist.
Selena picking up that Terry's chocolate orange.
Yes.
Oh, it's when Frank is in the grocery store and he
Mhm.
says of the alcohol he's buying, takes out the fire but leaves in the warmth.
Yes.
Warmth is what defines this movie. And I would say Pontypool is a very cold movie.
Yes.
We don't have a lot of intimacy between the characters. We don't establish them visually early on. If you think about it, seeing Jim completely naked in the first shot, it's like he's already totally vulnerable. So
Hmm.
you have this immediate intimacy with that character just because he's got tubes in him and it's full frontal nudity. And in fact, speaking of the intimacy, just visually, Danny Boyle chose to shoot this in digital, he said, because there were so many cameras around London at the time. So people were always being recorded digitally. Yet, I mean, he couldn't have known how recorded we are all the time, you know?
Yeah.
But one of the benefits of that was that they could get cameras in everywhere. So the actors said, we never knew. It's not like wait for your close up. We never knew when we were being filmed and how closely and at what angle. So we just kind of had to see character.
So interesting.
I
I did
just
not know that.
behind the scenes. It's such a character-based movie.
Hmm.
It is so warm. It's so tender. It's so beautiful. The scene with the horses, they're like a family. And
Oh, yeah.
that Brian Eno song is playing, I think it's called Ascent, an ending.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Not to mention all of the religious Ave Maria plays, Abide with Me. And then, of course, in the church, I've talked about the end is extremely fucking nigh. Might as well be the millennial slogan. I guess. We've had so many. What's the plural of apocalypse again? Oh, Frosty
Um,
the Snowman, the Christmas lights. I'm sorry.
yes.
Yes.
No, you're okay. So that's one of the things that I saw. It's funny how you're talking about it in terms of it being like family and warmth and community and all those things. I got those things and I had kind of a different reaction in reading to it. For one, when you first hear Christmas music and see, and they're following Christmas lights, right? How that's how they come to find Frank and Hannah. And then they go through this whole thing with zombies trying to get at them. And when they cross the threshold into this family space, it's Christmas music and twinkle lights, and they're drinking creme de menthe of all things in the zombie apocalypse. Um, and I was just like, the first time you hear that Christmas music, it hit me like a gut punch because it's all the things I feel like the zombie apocalypse movies are really about stripping away all of the things that are unnecessary. And so then Christmas is not technically necessary, right? But it is in terms of we still need culture, we still need hope, we still need religion, we still need twinkle lights. That's how we survive.
I should just let you do the talking. That was beautiful. Yes. Yeah, everything that is out just out of pure raw survival mode, including the trouble they get into in the tunnel. Um,
Yes.
I mean, from the
Which, by the way, hold on, hold on. What
sorry.
the fuck is up with the car that can drive over other cars? Is this cab a tank? Why? Tell me why. What does
I will
Danny
tell you,
Boyle say about
I
this?
told you I can defend everything in this movie because I
Okay.
think it's perfect. A 5 stars, Library of Congress, perfect film, exquisite. I can explain why. Because when you're a little kid, that's how you're supposed to feel when your dad is driving the car. That nothing
Oh,
would stop him. And this is all pretty much from Jim's perspective. He's our point of view character. And so, yeah, because you remember that beautiful moment where it goes from, but there is a criticism to make about Danny Boyle that his sentimentality occasionally, which is why I love him, is occasionally where some of his movies go into a place that you could criticize them, but I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. There's a moment where they're like bouncing in the car because obviously this it's a ride now. They have gone to Six Flags now. They went to the grocery store, all you can eat, take whatever you want, kids, take all the candy, and then now we're going on a ride at an amusement park, and you can see the actors slowly start to like smile and laugh like children in the back seat.
mm-hmm.
So so the car has to be
A
a tank.
magic car.
It's a magic
It's the
car.
magic. It's the magic cab that Frank drives, and then it gets a flat, and I'm like, okay, well that
Makes sense.
brings us back to reality just a tiny little bit, just a tiny bit.
I mean, that's what I'm saying about like the the goggles. Like, what? There's a lot of magic. Like, how come one drop of blood in your eye and now you're a zombie, and you can just be covered in zombie blood and making out, and it doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah,
it's a little weird.
there's some inconsistency, but I think that's also maybe it's because I work in the HIV field, and it's kind of impossible for me to watch movies about virus and contagion without seeing it through the lens of HIV as an epidemic. But I think there's also a lot of inconsistencies in general about how viruses are spread
Yeah,
in the news and in the world. People tend not to know that. And so in a movie where you haven't really established the rules, I think it maybe even makes sense that they don't, that it's not always consistent.
I agree. So if it's biting or straight to the eyeball, I guess straight to the eyeball could be straight to the brain, and then the biting could be straight to the bloodstream. It makes sense, okay? Danny Boyle is a very, very smart man. I dropped my zombie goggles. Oh, and he went just totally explicit with this. I don't want to talk about 28 years later because I just saw it. At first, I laughed at it. I was like, they can't be doing that. Sacrilegious. But there was a literal Christmas tree made of bones in there. So
Yes.
my 28 Days Later is a Christmas movie. I've always thought that, and then he just made it explicit. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
He was like, Laura,
Ah,
you're right.
yes. Um, oh, doesn't the manor remind you a little bit of the Wicker Man manor? Was it Christopher Lee who played the cult leader in Wicker Man? I just thought of that when Chris Eccleston was when I rewatched this and they had the manor with the shrubbery and he was explaining everything.
Oh.
I don't know why it
Hmm.
brought it back to me.
I was so excited. I did not remember that Christopher Eccleston was in this movie. I think because to me now Christopher Eccleston is Doctor Who, and at the time he was not Doctor Who yet. And so I blocked everything out, I guess, before, and this is the first time I've watched this movie, I think, since pretty close to when it actually came out.
Yeah, it
I love me some Chris Eccleston. He is so good and so creepy,
is.
and he's got this quality, and he brings this to Doctor Who, and I think it's what makes him a great doctor. There's so much warmth to him. He's like very easy to trust, but there's also just this underlying hint of,
Ice cold.
uh-huh, like I might be walking into a lion's mouth.
Yes.
Yes.
Um, oh, speaking of Cillian Murphy and Naomie Harris are amazing, and Brendan Gleeson and Murphy were in another movie together, I think, called Breakfast on Pluto, which I saw a long, long time ago and I don't remember it. But the cast, very, very close, you can tell. They worked beautifully together. Anyway, uh, yeah, the sergeant who says at the well, he's the one who has he nails it. He gets it. He's like, the island is under quarantine. That's it's not the whole world. It's just us.
Yes.
That scene where he's tied to the radiator with Jim reminded me so much of Daffy in The Beach, who also has a lunatic monologue in which he's pretty much correct. But he says, if the infection wipes us out, that is a return to normality. That's what he says at the dinner table. And I just,
Mm-hmm.
about when we were all locked down, the way that nature started to creep back in, all over the world. Um, oh, can I say that the scene where Jim sees the airplane is my favorite thing in the whole world? It is everything to me. It is beautiful. It is hope. It is possibility. It's what makes it a Christmas movie when he knows. And yeah, that it's not at the very end. There were some dark endings, but the ending they went with is not hell, it's not help, it's hello.
It's hello.
Because, of course, they had seen help all over the country. But hello. Human contact.
Yeah.
Something we are missing increasingly.
I had put down in my notes, that's what people do. We turn hell into hello.
Oh! Yeah, the first time I watched it, I like it when horror movies have like a break where you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
This one you're never quite safe because those camera angles, we talked about how like Pontypool could be a radio play, 20 Days
Mm-hmm.
Later could be a silent film. Those camera
Yeah.
angles tell you that we're hiding the camera under the truck now, and so so you're
Yeah.
never quite safe, but those moments of hope, of genuine hope. It's so
Mm-hmm.
the opposite of Antichrist was totally bleak. There was nothing to hang on to.
Yeah.
And then the ending of 28 Days Later, you feel the joy with them because you've been through hell with them. And yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The part that maybe just because I think about the world in a really bleak way, I took the message over and over again that maybe the world is better off without us.
Mm,
So
yeah.
of course, it's not the whole world, and then you find that out. But when I see things like the family of horses, and it's nature taking it back. If you look at oh yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the Chernobyl exclusion zone
Right. Yeah.
40 years later. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really pretty and radioactive, but pretty.
Like if we lived just a little bit differently,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the
Yes.
beauty of this world.
And one of the soldiers says, if you look at the whole life of the planet, we've only been around for the blink of an eye. So if the infection wipes us all out, it's a return to normality.
Right. That's
That's what you were talking about before I wrote that down in my notes. I was like, oh, that's
oh,
finger
and
on the button.
yes, and we promised them women, right? That
Oh,
yeah, when he says we
oh,
promised them women because women mean a future. That
yes,
after like it was only 8 days before that one of the guys he found him with a gun in his mouth because there were
yeah,
no women, which meant no future, which got me thinking again about the internet and the loneliness epidemic and all of
yes.
that. And uh ooh, I remember thinking when I saw it, I was like 16. First of all, the scene in the bathroom with Selena and Hannah. Ah, ooh,
Oh, it's
hurts
awful.
too much.
Oh, and
Um,
she's trying to give her pills. And she's like,
yes,
are you trying to kill me? She's
yeah.
like,
Oh,
no, I'm trying to
Hannah,
make you not care.
Hannah on Valium is amazing.
Oh,
The
yeah.
actress does it so well. And I just realized on this rewatch again that when she's going down the hallway in her red dress and she kind of spins, she kind of floats away from Selena, there's a little chime sound in the midst of the song In a House in a Heartbeat, that pounding music. There's a Disney princess chime as she twirls her dress down the hall. She's fantastic.
It's so cute.
But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. I used to think, hey, that is what I mean by feminism. Like that's what the female experience comes down to, basically,
Yeah.
is that your body is that type of resource. Um, but yeah, there's so much to say. Oh, there's so much to say. I was thinking about the opiate epidemic and like crashing through the window like a zombie into your childhood home.
The whole I promised them women, which is really chilling. It's when you
Yes.
see Christopher Eccleston really say something that, because it's almost understandable, right? If he were saying they're so desperately lonely and they don't think that there's a future for humanity and you represent hope for us, and it didn't mean sexually assaulting a prepubescent girl,
Yeah. Yeah.
then it could almost, like, but you hear it and it's chilling that I promise them women, as if they're, something that you can promise to somebody, because what you're doing is turning something that is supposed to be hopeful and like destroying it, taking away women's autonomy, taking away their freedom, and turning them into basically baby making factories.
Yeah. There is a difference between community and coercion,
Yes.
and Jim and Selena and Hannah have found community with each other and mutual trust, which, you know, is
Yeah.
necessary for the functioning of a society, because there's more to maintaining life than just
Hmm.
the biological creation of life.
Yeah.
Maintaining a life worth living, a community worth being part of, a civilization worth saving,
Yeah.
which is Carol's point when he said that would be a return to melody.
Okay, so another thing that you said that really struck me, um, is when you were saying how, Pontypool could be a radio play, which it was, and this could be a silent film. That first, when he gets out of the hospital, Jim gets out of the hospital and starts walking around and looking around. Every single thing on screen, it's very Pontypool in that way, in that every single thing means something. Because now you're in a world where there's no people, maybe, and so every single thing means something. And what I see in there is just brands, advertising, candy. Yeah, exactly. It's Pepsi. It's like a Pepsi commercial. Um, they are the only things they really have to eat in abundance are candy and soda, which are the things that are not going to help them survive. Everything that we thought that we needed as humanity were actually not the things that we needed at all. They're
Yes.
And then you go to where there's all the notes that people have left. And you get to see, children's drawings and people trying to find each other in the midst of this chaos. And there's not a single word uttered, it's just shots on the screen, and it's so beautiful
Yes.
and
And
chilling.
it is. And I think there's a Old Testament prophet quote on there on one of the note cards that he finds. So people are aware that whatever is happening is of that type of proportion. Which, I mean, in the times we've been living in, the sense of it's the end times over and over, people are there.
Yeah.
They've been there for a while.
Another thing that really strikes me that supports your claim that this is not a zombie movie is how it really doesn't shy away from the sadness and the details of dead bodies.
Yes.
There's like when he's, walking through and he in the gas station, he sees the dead baby. And it's horrible. It's
Yes.
absolutely devastating. And there's details, right? There's like close-ups of like eyelashes and fingertips, and it
It
hits
feels
you in a way that, the carnage of a zombie movie is just never going to affect you. You see thousands of people just body parts flying all over the place. And this is really taking you back to this is what loss of life really means. Feel it.
there for me it's the shot they're driving out. By the way, like the painted flowers, we all remember that. I remember that as being so beautiful when I saw it. It's so brief. But there's a
Hmm.
shot where they're driving out of the city and there's just a head, a gray ashen head in the foreground as they're driving past. And I thought this could be a war movie. This would be
Yeah.
an excellent war movie. The
Yeah.
devastation of Manchester. Um, all of these, yeah, little bits and pieces of a life that you find.
Hmm.
Those sensory details of devastation. It could be any type of disaster. It's not a zombie movie. It's just, yeah, it's about loss. I mean, Frank's death still makes me cry every
Oh, it's so horrible.
time. Because, again, not about losing a character in a zombie movie, it's about a girl losing her father.
Yes.
Suddenly.
And
Yeah.
he's the heart. He's been holding them together. There's that really beautiful moment where, Selina's saying she's kind of given up on community. She's given up on connection and she's just going for survival. And that she has a really beautiful arc of changing that story and going back to actually connection is what's going to save us at the end. But at that point, she's saying they're just going to slow us down. It's an old man and a little girl. They're going to slow us down. And of course, they hear, and then Hannah says, "You need us too," which is exactly right. And then lets you know how, everything that's going to happen and the change of heart that she's going to have is she's going to come back to feeling human again because
Yes.
she's got these people in her life.
Yes.
And then another thing that I found that I was just thinking about between Pontypool and 28 Days Later is the kiss scenes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because they had just been talking about, staying alive isn't as good as it gets. There's some,
Yes.
and Selena's little stolen kiss to Jim is so sweet.
Oh, and says you can keep it.
Yes.
Oh,
Precious.
it's
It's like they're going to the middle school dance together.
oh, it's adorable. It's so sweet because she's, reaching out and being vulnerable for one of the first times, in the film. She's really starting to let herself feel it, and she's like, "Oh, sorry," and
Yep.
he's like, "No, I enjoyed it. Thank you."
Um, but in Pontypool, the kiss scene is very different, totally.
It
Uh,
is.
yes. Can we start talking about Pontypool, or can I? Because if I keep talking about 28 Days Later, we're going on way too long. I will go
Okay.
on.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Danny Boyle
Yes,
is a genius. He is a genius. He
I
doesn't get enough.
agree. I
Um,
love it. I think this movie it
he
just
does get.
absolutely it changed the horror genre. Whether or not it's so much more than that, and we obviously argue that it is. It did just absolutely give birth to so many things we would not have in the genre without it. And it's just a really I doubt there's anybody on the planet who could watch that movie and not feel moved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he speaks to deep universal human experience, just like the movie in America. But what I don't like is that people using that frenetic style of editing that he used for the zombie cuts exclusively in horror, I don't like seeing that everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of things just looking gritty as a style. Like the early 2000s went through so many horror things that I detested. One was how the Saw movies turned everything like sickly green. The whole filter phase. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Why? Because everything that Boyle does is for a reason.
Hmm.
Camera work moves with the emotional story being
Yeah.
told. It moves with the characters on purpose. It's all intentional. And someone just doing that arbitrarily, just
Yeah.
stop. Make your own movie. Okay, I'm sorry I said he doesn't get enough credit. He literally was invited to do the opening ceremony of the Olympics in 2012. Of course he gets enough credit, but still.
I
Continue.
don't know. I don't know. If you're thinking, yeah, in terms of like respected directors, and who folks would go to, I don't think Danny Boyle is anywhere near at the place on the list where he should be. I
That's
agree
true.
with that.
But I think I just lied about it being the 2012 Olympics. I don't know
Oh,
when the Olympics take place.
I don't know.
Okay. He did one of those Olympics thing. Oh,
One
and
of
it was
one of them
one
things.
one of those ceremonies, and the big part of it was about the national healthcare system in the UK, which is interesting because he made this virus movie that I guess Trainspotting put him on the map for everybody. But the beach is again Alex Garland and Boyle together. Alex Garland wrote this, and
Hmm.
Alex Garland, Ex Machina, Annihilation, the beach. And look,
It's all connected,
it's all connected.
just like in Pontypool.
Okay, honey.
Is that a good segue?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
You should explain that I don't just call you honey frequently.
well, hopefully folks have seen Pontypool and therefore will know what you meant. But also, you should maybe start calling me honey. That was pretty sweet.
Well, you are a sweetheart.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, Pontypool is a 2008 Canadian psychological horror thriller film, is how it's kind of billed. Directed by Bruce McDonald, written by Tony Burgess, which it is based on his 1995 novel, Pontypool Changes Everything. And that book was very, very different from the plot of this film. It was a War of the Worlds style kind of letters from the front lines of a zombie apocalypse, little snippets. Um, Another thing that is interesting is in the book, the virus is called AMPS, acquired metastructural pediculosis.
I have to look up what his degree was in semiotics, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yes. So it's very much a nerd being nerdy. And that's what I love about this movie. He said of the virus, the first stage is you might begin to repeat a word, something gets stuck. And usually it's words that are terms of endearment, like sweetheart or honey. The second stage is your language becomes scrambled and you can't express yourself properly. And the third stage, you become so distraught at your condition that the only way out of the situation you feel as an infected person is to try and chew your way through the mouth of another person.
how the first half of this episode has gone for me.
But it was originally going to be this adaptation of the book was going to be a radio play. The CBC commissioned it, and they were just going to shoot a video of the actors doing the radio play. But then they started kind of getting more funding, and then Hattie got involved, and they got a budget, and so they really went for it. I'm so glad they did. Um, so it starts out with this ominous sound wave, and we hear the beautiful, smooth 2-pack a day voice talking about Mrs. French's missing cat Honey, and there's posters all over town, and all of a sudden you go into, okay, we're in the town of Pontypool, and there's a bridge called Pont du Flac, and Flac means pool in French, and Colette Piscine was driving over the bridge, and Colette sounds like culotte, which is panty in French, and piscine also means pool, and so you've got Pantypool, Pontypool, Pont du Flac. And he just goes into look at all these synchronicities, right? That's how we start out. And then we get the Norman Mailer theory, which is kind of what this is all about. And he says, in the wake of huge events, after them and before them, physical details, they spasm for a moment. They sort of unlock. And when they come back into focus, they suddenly coincide in a weird way. Street names and birth dates and middle names, all kind of superfluous things, appear related to each other. And as this is going on, the title Pontypool starts coming up one letter at a time, alien style, and it spells out typo.
Yeah, but then it spells poo.
It says no, first it spells out typo and then it spells out typoo.
Okay, all right. I'm a child. Because I thought, oh, that's so clever. And then I giggled a
And
little
then
bit.
so now we're
Okay.
introduced to, we find out who this voice belongs to, Grant Mazzy. He is in the car listening to himself on the radio, as you do. And on the radio, he's delivering the obituaries. And he's talking to his agent on the phone. And you find out Grant Mazzy has been fired, obviously, at some point. And the only work he could now get is in the middle of a tiny town in rural Ontario where barely anybody is listening to him. And then a lady comes up to the window and you can't hear what she's saying, but she's spooky and it kind of looks like she's saying blood over and over again.
Ooh,
Is she? I don't know. I
I
couldn't
don't.
figure out what she's actually saying. But that's the point, I guess, is that we're not to find out. Right?
Yeah, and can I say that that was actually a good use of CG breath?
Yeah.
You see so many movies where it just the CG breath ruins it, but in that one, it felt right because it was in this sort of dream state.
Yes. He's driving. It's a beautiful shot. Like he's driving through a blizzard. It's very dark, super, super early in the morning. And so she kind of comes out of nothing. And there's these snowflakes around her, and it's just all very ethereal. He is like, what the heck is going on? He rolls down the window and he starts trying to get her attention. And she starts just repeating everything that he's saying. And that's the foreshadowing for everything that's gonna happen. So then he gets to the radio station. It's in the basement of a church, and I think that's really significant. And we just see more of this first part of him just living in Pontypool and being introduced to the characters. There's so many little things. I think this is where you really start to see that every single thing in this movie means something. And the more that they repeat it, the more that it means. So sometimes it's unsubtle. Like Grant Mazzy's character, right? He walks in, he's wearing a cowboy hat, he's got a fuck you attitude, and then you get a shot of his desk toys, and they're a betta fish, which, like, they're known for their aggressiveness and not being able to be in a fish tank with multiple fish or they'll kill each other, the males. Um,
And this is connected to the movie Fisher King, which is also about a shock jock. See what Pontypool does to your brain?
See, you can't stop. Once it starts, you can't stop.
No.
Oh,
Name the monster. Okay.
seriously. And he's got the little Ramon. He's got a little Joey Ramone of the Ramones. So he's like, I'm punk rock. And he's got
Performing monkey.
a monkey beating a drum. So his whole thing as the shock jock is he takes no prisoners, which originated as a military command. The military is also another thing we need to watch out for in this movie because I think that is actually what it's about. And over time, it became an idiom to mean ruthlessly aggressive or uncompromising in achieving a goal, right? And that's what he's going to do. And then he also talks about beating a drum. He's got a little monkey that beats a drum. He plays it into the microphone. Again, not subtle, but his whole thing is he's banging the drum and he's taking no prisoners. And that's what you know about Mazzy. Go for it.
I love it that you're making so much sense right now, unlike me in the beginning of this episode, because I thought that like the tagline of this movie you can't use because it's Talking Heads album. I mean, it's Talking Heads ship that stopped making sense, right?
Yes. Should
Yes.
we stop making sense?
Should we
Should
Should
we
we
shut
stop?
up or die?
Shut up or die. Yes. I should shut up right now.
We should shut up. We should both shut up. But we won't. Like Grant Mazzy, we
Yeah.
can't.
I will say this movie is like it's particularly horrific if you've ever struggled with like difficulty verbalizing, like stuttering or repeating words, like I do sometimes. Um, when I'm anxious. Go on.
Another connection. So he's beating the drum, right?
Mhm.
The church that they're in the basement of is on Drum Street. And Laurel Ann's last name is Drummond. Because little details everywhere. This everything is connected. Once you start looking at it, it's like I'm digging, and there's more. And the nerd hole is truly bottomless here. Is bad. Okay, so he goes to the studio. You get to know everybody. There's Laurel Ann, who is a tech person in the radio station. She's the one that cues up the tapes and everything that they play. You find out that she has recently come back from Afghanistan and she was crowned homecoming hero at a festival recently. So remember that. And then we also get introduced to Ken Loney in the Sunshine Chopper. They've got their journalist on the outside is supposedly at that point, you think, in a chopper. Looking at, morning traffic and all those things. And because there's a blizzard, he's supposed to be reporting on school closures and all kinds of things that people need to know in their morning radio, but he just wants to talk about what happened with that lady on his car and asking people, when should I have called 911? When do you call 911? And it's Valentine's Day, which comes in later because when you say terms of endearment, that is something that causes infection. So on a day when everybody is going around telling each other sweet nothings, that's what happens.
Interesting phrase, sweet nothing. Hey, do you mind if I do some 28 Days Later style product placement?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's not Pepsi, but
I drank Coke throughout the whole last episode. I actually put
I
my
started product placement, yeah.
yeah, I was like Coke Zero. I'm still drinking Coke Zero, but now I put it in a cup so that you can't see it. Um,
It's Valentine's Day.
it's Valentine's Day.
So this is a Valentine's Day movie.
This is a Valentine's Day movie. We've got a Christmas movie and a Valentine's Day movie.
Got a basis with it.
Yep. So then we get breaking news, and the breaking news is about a local small-time pot growing operation, and we get a police officer who comes in. He's talking about how serious it is, and Grant Mazzy is just going on so sarcastically about how dangerous it is. He asks Sydney, the producer, off the air, "Do you smoke pot?" She says, "Yeah." So basically, we know this is not a problem, as we know, right? Marijuana is a way that the police use to militarize and criminalize and control us. And so he just goes off in his Grant Mazzy way and he's saying, "Oh, these pot growers, they're so dangerous. They've got enough artillery to take on a small country. And if Junior throws a ball through their windows, he's just liable to trigger a death squad."
Since this is the Pontypool episode, that is actually related to the beach, because in the beach, that literally happens. They stumble onto the fields of people who are growing marijuana and they almost get machine gunned. Everything's related. Continue.
Everything is connected. See?
Connected.
Danny Boyle and the beach and the pot growing in Pontypool. It's all one and the same. So then he says he lets it out, and the full disclosure, meaning wanting to tell everybody everything on the air that they probably shouldn't hear, that producers don't want him talking about, is what got him fired. And Sydney tells him that small towns are already disposed to full disclosure. It's called gossip. And so here we have gossip as a way of spreading information and spreading misinformation, right? And he says, talking about the media, that he's trying to build an audience by pissing people off. He's saying, I'm being over the top on purpose. I'm trying to piss people off because a pissed off viewer is an attentive listener. And that means the more people are upset, the more people are going to tell everybody about what's going on. And that's how you build an audience, which is what news is. Yes. Media is a business. There's money to be made in being controversial and exaggerated and inciting feelings. And that tends to win out over saying the news in a way that is actually informative and truthful. And that's the problem with the media, right? And Sydney is sitting here saying, yes, okay, but people just need to know what's going on. Can you just report the news and tone it down?
Actually wrote down a note in my Pontypool addled brain, rage bait, because the rage virus.
Rage bait.
The rage
Yes.
virus in 28 Days Later, and rage bait as a media strategy. Yes. Okay, continue.
That is exactly right. Then we get the whole fish hut hostage situation. This is the first time we get another time that Grant Mazzy is just so over the small time things he's having to report in the small town. Apparently there's somebody is taking a whole van full of people hostage, and he just makes light of the entire situation and says they're probably drunk, the police officers are probably drunk, and he just goes on and on about how the police are drunks. To which Sydney's like, actually, they're alcoholics. And she's saying it in like a, that's not okay, don't make fun of them. They could lose their jobs. And we also find out at some point, I can't remember if it's here or later, that Ken Loney in the Sunshine Chopper is just a dude in a car sitting on a hill making helicopter sound effects. Which is just another way that the media is lying to us. And Sydney lets us know that people know that he's just a guy making helicopter sound effects, but they're so happy to have him up there on a hill pretending that he's in a helicopter. And then we finally get our next piece of news, of breaking news, that we think is going to be another small town whatever, but turns out to be the beginnings of this virus, which is a large group of people have gathered outside the offices of Dr. John Mendez, and he is under investigation for writing unnecessary prescriptions. I'm going to pause here to ask you, what do you make of that? Because that is something at first I thought the first time I saw it that it was going to be, oh, this is how the virus originated, as this quack of a doctor giving people meds.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
Right. Wait, how does the virus originate?
Well, we don't really know.
Because I figured there was this big French-Canadian joke that I did not get because I don't know Canadian history well enough. You know? But
Right? I don't know. If anybody knows what that means or if you have theories, please let us know, because I couldn't really find any interesting theories about why that is. To me, writing unnecessary prescriptions means like a doctor who is giving out pain medication to people who don't need it, like basically a crook. But maybe that's not the right way to take it. I don't know. Anyway, so we hear that there's an explosion of people, is what Ken Loney in the Sunshine Chopper is telling us. They're getting trampled and killed. Grant Mazzy saying, is there anybody there trying to restore order? Where's the police? And then military vehicles start showing up. And then he says, because we get to this moment where we don't have a full picture of what's going on. And so Grant Mazzy says, he quotes the philosopher Roland Barthes described trauma as a news photo without a caption. And I love that line. So, for one, there's all kinds of descriptive, poetic language throughout this film. And like he says, he feels like he's living in the basement of the world because it's cold and like seasonal affective disorder and it's all like dark and awful outside. Um, and it goes back to a conversation we had about how poetry is really just lies that tell you the truth.
Yes. Well, yes.
Right?
Yes. There's a lot to say about poetry with this movie.
There is. There's
Uh,
so much. Okay.
no, it was just recently that I was in a hotel room repeating a French word over and over again until it sounded like a nonsense word, a French name. And and in that conversation, there was a book recommended to me about linguistics, I think, called The Words, the Spells, the Death, I think. Cut this all out. Okay, continue. Everything's connected.
Everything's connected.
Cut this out.
Can we just be
But when
pointing
we
out
cut,
all the things that are connected?
yes, but when we cut things out, how do we get back to where we were? This is like coherence. We're in the street and our house isn't our house. We have to choose which.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do coherence at some point. And we're just doing a lot of jump cuts. It's fine. It works for it works for Danny Boyle. It works for Lars von Trier, and it works for us. Um,
Costume changes and
yes,
pretend like it never happened.
yes, we
Can I
should.
just can I just
Yeah. Thank you for that.